is not okay. Wait, he was throwing people out of the window. They could have died. They could have gotten hurt. And maybe somebody did get hurt, but like that is not okay. But we normalize that.
Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. I'm Misha, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a safe, judgment free space for anyone who has lived through toxic or abusive relationships and is ready to heal. I know what it's like to feel trapped, unheard, and unseen. Through faith and healing, I found my way forward, and now my purpose is to help others do the same. Here we share real stories of resiliency, growth, and transformation from people who have walked through trauma and come out stronger. My hope is that you'll be reminded that you are not alone, your past does not define you, and healing is possible. If you're ready to take the next step, you can learn more in my book, Behind Closed Doors, or schedule a free clarity call with me. Welcome back to Silent No Longer, and I'm excited to introduce Nikki today. She is the author of Love You, Hated You, and I'm excited to discuss how it's easy to get stuck in patterns and how to reclaim your identity after emotional betrayal. Thank you, Nikki, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
If you can just start by telling us a little bit about your story.
So basically, Loved You, Hated You is loosely based off of a relationship that I was in many, many, many moons ago. Um, but it was not a good relationship, quite toxic, quite abusive. And, I like to talk about really how I was able to get out. It was such, and and if I'm honest, that relationship was about 30 years ago, and this person is still circling my life. So, do have to break these patterns, and not in that way. I'm in a very healthy relationship, have been for 7 years, but trying to get out of that pattern was kind of
Mhm.
brutal. You lose yourself in these relationships.
Yeah. When was the first time you noticed that you had a pattern?
Um, and it was just a pattern in this particular relationship because after this, I vowed to never go through that again. But
Mhm.
during the relationship, I was complaining to a friend of mine. And it wasn't until she finally said to me, I feel bad about what you're going through, but I don't want to hear about it until you're ready to change. She said, or ready to leave, because she was like, I give you all this advice and you don't take it. You still come back with the same thing. And I think that the moment of her being really honest with me made me open up my eyes and go, okay, she doesn't want to hear this anymore because she's saying it's the same thing. That means there's an issue here. There is a pattern that I just got myself looped in. And I know it's wrong, and people in abusive relationships know you don't wanna be there. How do I get out of this? And that was the moment where I had to do some really soul searching as to why.
Mhm. And was this the only abusive relationship you were ever in?
Absolutely.
Was
The
it
one and done. One and done.
that's good. Yeah, because I grew up around toxic relationships, so I had no idea that I was even in toxic relationships, so I ended up in 2, and
Oh, wow.
then God took me through a journey of teaching me, like, toxic 101 is what I call it. It took me through a
Mhm.
six-month journey of that and, boundaries, and that's when I realized, "Oh, this isn't normal."
Right.
So, was that your very first relationship you'd ever been in?
No, and ironically, you were saying how you grew up. My parents, both my parents stayed married until my mom passed away. And it was not a good marriage, but I had never seen them fight. I'd never seen them argue, not even raise a voice at one another. So I think, well, not I think, how I ended up in this relationship, um, when my mom passed, my dad he wasn't a good father and he wasn't a good husband. Let's just say that. So I had moved from Chicago to California to pursue my career. And when I got here, I had never been here before. I didn't have any friends, just this one friend I was telling you about that, and I actually worked with her. Um, and I realized that I was holding on to this guy and allowing him because that's what you talk about, the self-love. Why do we allow things to happen? But it was because he was my only support here, right? And when
Mhm.
he was good, he was great. He was amazing. And I think when we get in those relationships, we so desperately hold on to the moments of goodness. and because we know it's in there, and that's what we're trying to get out, and all of that. But that's not who they really are sometimes, and, I just found myself in this relationship with him simply because there was no one else for me, and like I said, when he was good, he was amazing. Our relationship, as toxic as it wasn't bad on a daily basis, but they definitely weren't one-offs, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
well, it wasn't enough to go, "Oh my god, that was so ridiculous." Well, yeah, there's some I take that back. There were some moments where I
Mhm.
should have just no. But it was just he was there. And then my father, I told you, was not a good father. So I called my dad to say, "Hey, this guy put his hands on me." And I'm waiting for my dad to go, "I'm on the next flight out. I'm gonna whip his butt, blah, blah, blah." And my father simply said to me, "Well, that's what you guys do." So yeah, if I told you a lot of stuff my father has said to me over the years, you'd make that face. But I was 20 years old. When you're 20, sorry, 20-year-olds, anybody in your 20s, you think you know it, you don't know anything.
Mhm.
Right? So at 20 and my own father, because I didn't understand how toxic and terrible he was at 20, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, Well, my dad's like, this is what we do, then this is what we do." So I think that also enabled me to stay a little longer because the man that was supposed to protect me was like, "It's not a big deal."
Mhm. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how you got out.
Yeah, it was really the last physical fight that we had. We put each other in the hospital.
Mhm.
And that was the moment I think we were both like, we can't keep going through this because his neighbors had called the police. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, we were both pretty banged up. And that he actually said it to me first. He was like, "I don't want to be in this relationship with you like this." And, I was the one crying like, "No," because I'm still holding on, but, we went our separate ways for a very long time, and, over years, we're 30 years past that, so both of us have matured, which is why he's still in my life, and we still talk about certain things, but he ended up being a really good guy, but that's not everybody's story. He was just
Mhm.
young and dumb, and I was young and accepting, and, but who knows, if I would've stayed, that could have been just how that relationship was?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I talk about on the show a lot that sometimes people just aren't meant for each other. It doesn't mean that both people are just horrible people because you end up in a relationship that's abusive or very toxic. Just sometimes you're just not right for one another and you're trying so hard to make it work and it was never meant to work.
Right. We're oil and water. We were like oil and water.
Mhm.
We just didn't mix. And I don't know how into zodiacs or signs and all that, but he was an Aquarius and my dad, the not good guy, was an Aquarius. They had a lot of the same traits. So there you go. I picked up portions of my dad in that relationship, I guess.
Yeah. Oh goodness. That's interesting that your dad was just had that comment of just like, yeah, that's just,
My
he
dad
almost
was an interesting soul though.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So was your friend there to help you out of it?
No, she eventually I don't know what happened actually, because we weren't friends through the whole relationship, so they had nothing to do with her how I left. I started actually performing a lot and touring, so I think just the distance helped, um, keep us apart, if you will, but
Mhm.
like I said, if I'm honest, I actually saw this guy we actually tried to rekindle the relationship 18 years ago. We
Oh.
tried again. Um, he was going through a divorce, I was going through a divorce, and, he moved to another state, and, I flew out there and, yeah, it just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah,
So,
isn't that interesting how I don't know, sometimes we just really wanted it to work and we give that second chance and I don't know.
yeah.
I I have learned now after 2 bad relationships that once we break it off, like, we break it off.
Yeah.
I have, um, kids with my first relationship. I have 4 kids with them,
Oh,
and I was just like, "Nope, we're done." The only communication we ever had was about the kids, and now that they're all older, we barely talk to one another. And then my ex-husband, we got, divorced a year and a half ago, and I think we might have talked to each other maybe 4 times. That's it.
yeah.
And, um, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like once you're done with a relationship, you're just done.
See, well,
So
interestingly enough for me, every relationship I've ever been in, I'm still in touch with all of them except my ex-husband. And the reason and we have a child together, but the only reason why we're not in touch is because he died. And, um, and I wouldn't want to talk to him anyway. And then, no, yeah, though, he's the only one that I wouldn't have any contact with. So
mhm.
every boyfriend I've ever had, they're still in my orbit.
I find that so interesting because everybody tells me that, "Oh, yeah, I'm still friends with this person," and yeah, we're completely we still talk to one another, they still do things for me. If I
Yeah,
need my house washed, they'll watch my house, they'll feed my animals if I wanna go on vacation. I'm like, "What?"
yep. They are
That's so weird.
but I think I think at some point when there's forgiveness and understanding by both parties and maturity,
Mhm,
because there was an attraction in the first place, right? So
mhm,
once you land on that, I think it's easy to keep that going. I have an ex right now that, like, there had been times I was broke, he'd send me money and be mad if I sent it back. Or he'd send it right back to me, like, "I didn't send that to you for you to send it back to me." And he's a million miles away. I actually haven't seen him probably in 16 years, but we talk,
mhm,
often, and I know that if something ever happened, he'd be someone I could call, and it's completely platonic, even when we have our conversations, it's just on the up and up. There's no remember when or none of that. So,
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
good. So, how did you get out of your patterns? What kinda healing did you do?
Um, Self-reflection, and
Mhm,
I did what I like to call soul surgery, which is my next book, and it won't be fiction. Just soul surgery. Why? Why did I allow this to happen? Because and that was the thing, I had to realize I allowed it to happen. People
mhm,
will only treat you the way you allow them to treat you,
yeah,
and that was the beginning of me healing from that and making sure I didn't get in that type of relationship again.
mhm,
And it was really just loving myself. And let me tell you, I love myself enough to get out of that relationship, but then the marriage I was in, that was a totally different. It was toxic, but not abusive, if you will. There was somebody I should have never married, and he
mhm,
drugged me in a different way.
mhm,
He emptied out my bank account and left me with our kids destitute. Right, so those years, 15 of those years, 16 of those years was really trying to forgive him for all the hell that he put me through. So but we lost our home, we were in shelters, homeless, all of that stuff. So that was what the pattern was self-love. I am allowing these people to do certain things to me. And his was totally different from guy number 1. But
mhm,
what I realized, I could no longer look in the mirror. And I didn't realize it till one day I went past the mirror and actually saw myself. I was like, "Whoa, when did I gain all that weight? What is going on?" And so as I started doing some really, really serious work over the last, I'll say 7, 8 years, I realized I just was not loving me. And
mhm,
so I realized I could not look in the mirror and go, "I love you." I don't know where I saw that exercise from, but I was like, "I'm gonna try it." And I'm like looking away, trying to say, "I love you" to me. It was so hard. And then there was
mhm,
another exercise, and they were like, "Kiss yourself on the hand and tell yourself you're beautiful." Kissing myself, it was just like so foreign, so weird. Now I can do it with ease. I love myself. I think I'm awesome. And fortunately, because that is where I live, those are the kind of people that I'm attracting now. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Did you have people help you through this journey, like friends come into your life? See, I didn't believe in myself. I had no self-worth. I didn't think that I was worth loving, and I definitely didn't love myself. I didn't even know what that meant, but that was from, goodness, child on forward, you know? So, all of that was new to me, and then after my divorce, all these people came into my life and they're like, "You're so amazing. Do you realize
Oh,
how amazing you are?" And just built me up with all their
mm,
words, and it's still hard for me to hear it because it's foreign because I've never really heard it before,
right.
and I don't know, but yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, I'm still in it, but
Yeah,
learning to love
this
yourself
is big.
is
Yeah, yeah.
mhm,
It's hard. And, I think for me, the difference was, like you said, you've kind of experienced this stuff throughout your life. Mine
mhm,
was quite different. I had a loving mom and support and I trained for the Olympics. I was an accomplished musician. Like I had all these things. Always people what I'm trying to get at is people always telling you how good I am at whatever.
yeah,
So I I didn't have that issue. As a matter of fact, when I started going through all this stuff, no one knew because I wasn't talking about it because that would be embarrassing, right? But my
mhm,
faith is what got me through. And I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, God, come on. And I think the other part of it was because I was a professional athlete, you have a level of discipline that the average person doesn't have. And
mhm,
that for me was I will not be beat. I will not be a victim. I'm gonna win at this because and I tell my
mhm,
kids when they go through stuff, don't let that situation beat you. You're bigger than that. So that was kind of my mindset. And I just think from being an athlete, I just, I'm no, this is not gonna be. And I didn't tell anybody. I think people now that they're hearing us, I hear it a lot. I didn't know you were going through all that. Or they knew little bits, but they didn't know the grand scheme of things.
yeah, everybody, when I got out of my first relationship with my kids' dad, they're like, "But I thought you guys were happy, and, he was such a great dad, and he did all this stuff," and it's like, "Well, you guys don't exactly know what was happening behind closed doors, because you tried to keep that front on to everybody around you. You don't want them to know what's happening," and yeah, and
Yeah.
then when I, got a divorce with my ex-husband, nobody knew we were married.
Oh
'Cause we
wow.
were never together. They're like, "What? You were married? What do you mean?" And we went to church together, but we didn't go together. We didn't sit together, like, I mean, I don't
How
know,
long were
just
you guys married?
9 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and,
Wow.
like, people are like, "What do you mean you were married? You were married?" Yeah, people didn't know. As I stopped going
I
to the
gotta
church I was
I gotta close my mouth. I'm thinking you're gonna say like a year or 2.
Oh, no, no, no,
9
no.
years, and you guys didn't sit together at church?
No, either he wouldn't go, or he would always be late, or he would always be working on the security team, or he would just be out walking around. But we went to the same church for goodness, I think they opened up in, like, 2020, and we went there together until, like, 2024, 2025, whatever year was
I
that.
gotta close my mouth.
And
That
people did not know, and they even did this okay, so we started going through counseling and stuff, and he ended up getting baptized, and the church knew, that we were having, our issues or whatever, trying to connect, whatever you wanna call it, and they did this whole segment on us in the church about us coming together, and our marriage is like, you know, what is the word I'm even looking for? Because it was just all lies. It was like, "Oh, look at them. They were here, and now they're here, and they're so happy," and this whole video, and I'm surprised they didn't take it down. I think it's still up. But
no!
yes, and I'm just like, "Okay," and come to find out later that it was just all a lie, he just did it because he thought that that's what he should do. And here I was thinking all my prayers have finally been answered
Right,
and things are gonna
right.
be going great, and I was so happy, but things got so much worse after that.
Did
And
you
I was
guys have
like,
kids together?
"No, thank
Okay.
you."
That's a
Not every single day. No, absolutely. I'm so glad we never had kids. Oh my
I
gosh.
feel like interviewing you right now. That is insane.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was just on my very first podcast this week.
Were
I
you?
think it just got released on Monday because somebody came on my show. They're like, "I wanna interview you," and I was like,
Yeah, I think
okay."
I'm gonna start my podcast over the summer. I'm definitely gonna reach out to you
Okay.
because one of well, I won't tell my topic, but yeah, not here, but I will talk to you about it. But I think you'd be great. Oh my good, I get 9, girl.
Yeah,
My
9
mouth
years.
is full. That's
Well, I
crazy.
stayed in the marriage for so long because we were married, and, I didn't believe you get a
In divorce,
divorce.
correct.
And I actually struggled afterwards because even though God told me to get out, he literally said, "Get out now before it's too late." And I didn't know what that meant, but it was so bold and strong in that
And
feeling.
loud. Yep.
And I'm like, "All right, okay, if I'm gonna do this, you have to help me." And he did, and he still is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
And
I
that was my husband ex. He thought well, he knew that because of my faith, I didn't believe in divorce,
Mhm.
that I was,
Yes.
so he just took that to mean that he could do whatever he wanted to do
Mhm.
and I wouldn't leave. So when I put him out, he was so shocked
Mhm.
because it was like, wait, not you don't believe and we have a son together. So he really thought that, oh, I don't and what his thing was, his abuse was he didn't work and yeah, that was it. He didn't work. But when we met, um, he from what I understood, I met him actually teaching a class that I took, and we had met each other, get this, 20 years ago, and, I didn't like him then, but he's like,
Mhm.
"No, I'm not that same person." So we were both in the entertainment industry. We, he worked for the same company I did briefly, and, at that time, he was starting a new venture that was really, really good. He was in Forbes magazine. He was in Black Enterprise magazine, telling of all his great, ventures. Come to find out, though, after we got married, all of it was a lie. And so his thing was to marry me and let me take care of him. Did not work out for him. But, it was just the craziest relationship and that was abuse because he just expected me to take care of him, our son, and I have my daughter from a previous relationship. So it was awful. And then to wipe me out of so much money and then leave us destitute, man, that was the first
Mhm.
time I had ever experienced hatred. But I knew God heard God like, get out, get out, get out.
Yeah.
Because I started having dreams of him killing me.
Mm.
And then my daughter and I had a dream that he was about to stab my daughter, and I woke up going, "No." And then maybe 3 weeks after that, my daughter comes in the room and she goes, "I had a dream that he tried to stab me and kill me."
Oh my
So, I
goodness.
was like, "Yeah, God does not play, let's get out of this relationship ASAP." So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was with my kids' dad, I would have dreams that we were fighting, and it got to the point where I couldn't distinguish what was real life and what was a dream.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I'm just like because this one time we got into an argument and I, like, went up and kicked him, I think, or something. It wasn't hard, and as soon as I did it, I realized it was real life, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry." And I explained to him, like, why that was happening. He's like, "Oh my goodness." So we were gonna split up, and then I was in a really bad car accident, and then I lost my job and my schooling, and so we couldn't split up. We had to stay together. But yeah, it's just and after that, we moved into another house, and then that's when things got really bad, and it was kind of like what my dreams were.
wow. So you
But
probably had a forewarning of what
yeah,
come. Oof.
yeah, and it was pretty violent because my kids were really violent when they were little. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, like, why they were so violent, and I called the school when, my one daughter, I think she was in, like, Head Start or preschool. I said, "Is she angry at school?" And they're like, "No, she's the sweetest kid ever." But as soon as she got home, she was so angry and just violent. And her sister would like fight until they would draw blood, and it was pretty
Oh,
bad.
wow. Wow,
Mhm.
wow. Yeah,
But and it's not like him and I ever hit each other because I had this thing, if anybody ever lays hands on me, then we're done. And he did shove me one time and he knew he messed up and I was like, "We're done."
yeah.
And but it was just like a lot of throwing items, slamming doors, which I didn't realize was physical abuse until after my marriage and I did my research and that's why I wrote my book. So, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's I had a conversation with another host not too long ago. It's so interesting how we grow up in these toxic environments and we believe them to be normal. You
Mhm.
know, back to my dad, um, he would get drunk when I was little, and one time his mom had died, and I don't know what was, I'm like 5, 6, 7, so I don't understand grown
Right.
up stuff. But whatever was going on, he got really upset, grabbed a gun, and shot up the kitchen floor. And my mom ran me and her into the closet and called the police and all of that. But that became a family joke, right?
Mm.
And then shortly after that, his mom had passed away. We went to New Jersey and we're at his mom's apartment. All the adults are in the front room kitchen. Us kids are in the back, but I hear this bang on the kitchen table, and I knew my dad's about to get set off. So I jumped up, ran in there, and my dad's throwing people out of the window. He throw people out of the window. And I don't know if you know anything about New Jersey, New York, but their second floors are steep. It's like duh and straight down. Like it's very steep. So she was on the second floor, but it was like 6 floors going down. And he was throwing people out of the window because they were saying he should have done better taking care of their mom. And long story short, again, that was another family joke, right? Oh, he was throwing people out of the window. And it was kind of funny because he was trying to throw his brother out the window and the brother wasn't going. He kept hitting the wall like this and sliding down like a cartoon character. And he must have tried like 5 times. So, and that was kind of funny, but that was not a funny thing, right? And,
Yeah.
and so we normalized that in our family.
Mhm.
It's funny, which goes back to why my dad would probably say that's what you guys do because that's kind of his mindset, you know?
Mhm.
It wasn't until I started doing my work and talking to other people, and I was like, "Oh my god, my dad had a gun in the house and was shooting up the floor." Like, that is not okay. Wait, he was throwing people out of the window? They could have died. They could have gotten hurt. And maybe somebody did get hurt. I never heard about it, but like, that is not okay, but we normalize that, you know?
Mhm.
So, another reason why I probably stayed in that first relationship longer than I should have, because here's my dad normalizing it, and so here I am, "Okay, well, this is normal,"? But then there was that time when I was like, "No, this is something's off here." Like, I I shouldn't be made to cry and hurt, and you put your hands on me and talk to me. I mean, he was so belittling, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, I'm really sorry you had to go through all that, but I'm glad that you got out and you've done the healing and that
Same
you married.
thing, fam, it's 9 years. I'm
Yeah.
still blown away.
Yeah. Well, I was with the
Man,
kids' dad for I think like 12 years or something
wow.
before that. So, but I
You
also
spent a
believe.
lot of your life in
Mhm.
toxic relationships, huh?
Yeah, but my whole life was toxic. So you'll have to listen to that podcast I did. You'll be
I
like, what?
I'll bring a rubber band so I can keep my mouth shut because you already with the 9 years and people didn't know you were married and not sitting together at church was just like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. Well, I didn't think anything. I don't know. I mean, when we went to different churches, we kind of did. But I feel we were in a different spot in our relationship then. We
Mhm.
still trying to like each other. I think just one day we both just woke up and kind of decided that it wasn't working, but neither one of us were gonna leave. He wasn't ever gonna leave a relationship.
Men usually
Um
don't forgive me, man, but they typically will bite the bullet and stay.
Yeah, and
That
then
should be the next podcast. Why do y'all stay?
I don't know, cause he asked me, he's like, "What was your breaking point?" And we were in an argument one day, and he's like, "Oh, and where are you gonna go? Go live with your dad?" I was like, "Challenge accepted. Don't even, like, I have gotten myself out of so many situations and built my life back up. I can do it again. Don't tell me
Right,
I can't do it, you know?"
right.
Oh, I was so mad. I was like, "Okay." So I did. I had surgery and I went to a lawyer. I always go to a lawyer. I went to a lawyer and I got the papers all drawn up. I think this was in April, like probably middle of April. And then he came home because he was driving truck again at this time. He came home once a week. And he came home one week, and I didn't know when they were gonna deliver these papers because they wouldn't tell me. So I let him know. I was like, "Hey, I just wanna let you know that I filed for divorce. I just wanna let you know because I don't know when the papers are gonna be here. Trying to give you a heads up." And it's almost like he wasn't really fazed by it. Like, he was almost relieved or he's seen it coming sort of thing because he just laid there and didn't say anything for the longest time. And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was expecting a major reaction
Mhm,
because that's what my ex gave me when I did that to him. He got
mhm.
all upset and threw things and, there was a big reaction. So that's what I was expecting. But nope, he just laid there and then he didn't say anything for the longest time. And then he said, "Well, what are you taking me for?" And I told him, I was like, "Well, I don't want anything." I
That's
said,
what that was his takeaway. "What are you taking me for?"
"Yeah." And I said, "Well, I don't want anything." I said, "My biggest concern right now is where we're going to live." I said, "I don't make three times the income, and you have to make three times the income to rent anything in this town." And I don't think my credit score was high enough. I don't know. Maybe it was. But anyway, the three times the income. I said, "Well, these are our options." I said, since because he's retired military, he has money, he could live anywhere he wanted to,
Mhm,
right? And I said, either you can pay me, spousal support of the third of the income, or you can just let me buy you out of your mortgage. I've already been pre-approved because I had everything in order.
mm,
And he's like, okay. And he thought about it, and then um, he just went out in his truck and slept while he was home. And then he went back out on the road, and he came home. And he's like, "All right, if you can get the house refinanced, you can have it, but you need to have it in your name within 6 months or we're gonna sell it." And I said, "Okay." And then which, I mean, I kinda figured out I should get the house anyway because I'm the one who got out of foreclosure when we got married.
yeah,
So it's like, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have the house right now anyway. So that
right.
was kinda where my mind was and why I even asked for it because I wasn't on the house. He got it before we even got married. Anyway, so he went back out on the road again. And the last time that he came home, he actually first thing he said to me, kid you not, I was like, I had no clue what was happening. The very first thing that he said to me is, "How long is this supposed to stay like this?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes like this, because he had taken his ring off. He's like, "When does my finger go back to normal?" I was like, "I don't know. What? What kind of question is this?" It still shocks me that that was the first thing that he said to me when he came back after a week of me after him telling me or me telling him that I wanted a divorce. And then, he went back out on the road and while he was gone, he calls me up and he said, "Get a hold of your lawyer. We're gonna sign papers when I come home on Wednesday." And I said, "Okay." And we did. It literally was like I filed for divorce 2 weeks later, I told him. 2 weeks after that, we signed papers for the divorce to be finalized, and then it was 2 months process altogether, and the
Mm,
only reason why it took that long was because the judge was out of town.
right.
People are
My
like, "Misha, that doesn't happen," and I hear
right,
people come on my show, and they tell me how bad their divorce was and everything that they went through, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know, I guess, God told me to get out, and I told him he had to take care of me, so he had everything already in order." I mean,
yeah,
because it was
exactly.
very smooth, but after my divorce, I really struggled, with my faith. Even though I knew God told me to get out, I
Mm,
just felt completely lost because in my head, you don't get a divorce. So I felt it's like, once again, I failed, you know?
Yeah.
But it took me, I think it was probably about a little over 6 months, and I went through a whole healing thing with God, and so now I'm fine. I don't feel like
Yeah, no. Because what my saving grace was is that I knew God didn't want me to be unhappy. God saw
Mhm.
what's going on. I'm
Right.
like, I am God's kid, and, yeah, this is not what he wants from me.
Mhm.
I'm out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and 2 years prior, um, I stopped praying for our marriage, and I started praying for myself for healing, and I asked God, I'm like, "Why does nobody love me?" And, he's like, "Well, just let me love you." So he took me on a whole healing journey of him showing me what love really was, and I
Mhm.
think that helped a lot, leading up to the divorce and after the divorce.
Good.
It's still taking me some time to love myself, though. I feel
You
that's
know,
hard.
I think that that's an ongoing thing to do because it's like once we're always becoming. That's what I'm learning. There's not
Mhm.
a point where, "Oh, I made it." And I'm gonna turn my light on really quickly because I can see the sun's going down, it's getting dark in here.
Oh, that's okay.
Um, but, I don't know how much that did, but, what was I saying? I'm sorry. Lost my
You're
train of thought.
fine. Oh my goodness.
See? What
I
happened?
know. I
Well,
get
it was
distracted
good
so
too.
easily. Oh, God loving us and then us loving
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah, and, I was saying, we're always becoming, right? I
Mhm,
think when we're done becoming, we gonna meet our maker. But as far along as I know I've come, I run into snags. It's like a test. Like, okay, you passed that. You love yourself in that area. Then I find new areas and new things and unhealed parts. And like my guy now, he's a coach and he was coaching this game and one of the kids needed something. He calls me to order it on Amazon. Now, when he calls, of course, they're in a game, so everything's loud and he's kind of yelling. But
mhm,
he said, "I need whatever," and then he says, "Okay, go do it now." But that "go do it now" took me back to that first relationship,
mm,
and I was just holding the phone like it was like my brain was crossing, like, "Which guy is this?" And then, "Please don't turn into that guy." Now, mind you, we've been together now 7 years. Why am I still but that was
yeah,
something that healed. And, when he came over, he was just like, "What happened?" And I told him, he just grabbed me. He was like, "I'm so sorry. You know I would never." And I knew that it didn't come from that place, but
mhm,
that was a trigger. So, more healing, more
yeah,
healing, more healing. And, I can find myself like yesterday. I don't know if it was because it was Groundhog Day coming off a full moon. I don't know what was going on, but I just was not okay yesterday. I hated everything about myself. I felt down. I think it's an ongoing process and we just like your faith, it's something you have to work on daily. It's not like, "Okay,
mhm,
I'm healed. I love myself," and keep going because there will always be those things that come to you and make you that will challenge that
yeah,
information, you know?
yeah, I still get like that. There's just some days will just I just feel like crap.
That was me yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh my god. And it wasn't even a bad day, I just woke up
mhm,
feeling some kind of way, not
yep,
not inspired, not loved, not nothing, just like
yeah,
I went to bed at 8 o'clock last night because I
mm,
was like, "I need to get this day over with, like, I'm done with it." It was so bad, but nothing happened, you know?
yeah,
So we
mhm,
just there's just sometimes, it's just an ongoing thing, and I was praying, I was like, "God, please let me have a better day tomorrow." I don't know what happened today, but maybe it
mhm.
was a day for me to just sit still and be quiet and be calm. Never
Now
know.
when you get like that, do you push people away?
Unfortunately, I don't, and I say unfortunately because I'm always the one that lets people in my space no matter what,
Mhm.
and that's one thing I'm working on is boundaries.
Yeah, because when I get like that, I'll push everybody away. I won't talk to people, I won't answer my phone, I won't text people back, I barely talk to my kids. Like, I usually watch a movie. Usually, if I'm watching a movie all day, you know there's something wrong because
Mm,
I can't sit still that long.
mm,
And, um, I've communicated that with some of my friends, so now they know that if they haven't heard from me all day, they'll call me and consistently call me until I answer. They'll be like, "What's going on? What's
yep,
wrong with you? Like,
yeah,
how are you feeling today?" And then they'll pump me up and just, it's okay to be like this. It's okay to have this time. We just can't sit here all day. Come on. What are we working on today? What are we going to do? Get up and have some coffee, go to
yeah.
the store, do something. You need to get out of your house or you need to get up and work on something. Go edit a podcast, do something you enjoy doing. That's usually what I do
Mhm.
is I find something I really enjoy doing and I just like, you know what? I can't lay here. I can't get stuck in these feelings. And I usually get up and edit a podcast or something.
Yeah, that I tried that yesterday. My newfound hobby is painting.
Mm,
And so I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna paint." And it took me, what, 20 minutes to set up everything, had my glass of wine on the table, started just the top layer of the canvas. My new puppy, who is big as I don't know what, she's a German Shepherd slash Malinois, she's 9 months
mm,
and huge, jumps off the couch, turns around, knocks my wine over
mm.
on the canvas with the paint, everything, and it's wine is everywhere, everything's, flying everywhere, wine in the paint, wine on the canvas, wine, 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 and I'm just like, "Okay, not painting," and then I have, like, Alexa, my Echo there, and so it's always playing my jazz music while I'm painting. It just stopped all by itself. Just stopped everything, and I'm just like it went completely blank, nothing on the screen, and I'm like, "Okay, so I guess I wasn't meant to paint." Yesterday, I'm telling you, it was a strange day. That's why I was like, "I'm going to bed early because I don't know, I can't even do the thing I love to do." But yeah,
Maybe you should go back and make a portrait out of it. Like, "Ugh, I
I know,
overcame
right?
this." It's almost kind of like it was a mess, but you turned it around and made something good out of it.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
I'm gonna try
I
doing.
threw that portrait and it smelled like wine. I'm like, "No, not happening." Like, that was too much. So, I threw that away and, yeah, I was just like, "I'm done for the day. I'm done." But I don't push people away, and I think you and I are 2 ends of the spectrum, and we probably should be in the middle because you
Mhm,
probably push away too much, and I don't push away at all. And, you know, I because I don't, I'm always accessible, and that's not always good because that means I don't let people rally around me, if you will, because I'm always rallying around them, and I've also found me doing that, even when I'm feeling down, I get lost in the shuffle, "We didn't know you needed it that much," kind of thing, because I'm
mhm.
always there for everyone. So I need to be a little bit more like you, and you need to be a little bit more like me.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But that was my thing my entire life, I pushed everybody away. I didn't ever want anybody to know what was going on in my life, so I never talked to people, I didn't have friends, I never let anybody in. So this last year, I have really worked at letting people in, and if something bothers me, instead of just holding it in and letting it build up and ruining friendships over it, I let them know. Like, I'll take a few hours, half day, whatever it is, and then I'll be like, "Hey, when you did this, it hurt my feelings," or when you said this, it triggered me this way." And we would talk about it, and then that also helps me heal and understand, when things like that come up. So,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
really, really good to find people who are there to support you and to help you through your journey.
Yeah, yeah,
And if
definitely.
they're not there to help,
I
kick them
always
out.
that's what I say, if you are not putting into this, then
Mhm.
you don't need to be around this because I don't need anything as a weight. I need wind to push me forward because
Yeah.
exactly what I am to others. So, and that was the other thing. I had to set that boundary because I was allowing people to just come and drain me because I am accessible, so
Mhm.
that's one boundary I'm getting really, really good at. I'm so proud of myself for that. It's like, no, the
Yeah.
power of no.
So is that how you reclaimed your identity, was just through your faith?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing magical about that. That was literally I just did a deep dive, me and God, and show me what's going on. And that's how I started doing the soul surgery, as I call it. And yeah, it's just been me and God on this thing.
When you say soul surgery, can you give an example of what that looks like
Yeah,
to
just
you?
like we were talking about, it's really just self-love,
Mhm.
understanding, just taking moments, um let's say like yesterday, what was going on with me, even though I didn't do a deep dive yesterday, but would be something if it was really problematic or continuing, I would sit down and go, okay, why am I feeling like this? What is going on? Because there is a reason beyond
Mhm.
the Groundhog Day and the full moon. Like there's a real reason. Why are you going through this? And I'm
Yeah.
sure once I figure it out, then I do the work on it. But I am such a self-aware person, probably to a fault. Like I check myself all the time.
Yeah, me too.
So that is how, I would say I break patterns and just understanding who I am. And I give myself a lot of grace because no
Mhm.
one's perfect, right? And I'm going to make a mistake. Just because I came through all of that doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean I'm 100% healed. I don't think, those scars are good for the journey because
Yeah.
you get to talk about what you've been through and that this might help somebody else, right? And as you're helping someone else, you're encouraging you. So the scars are necessary and needed, but I just like to do a deep dive and I check on myself all the time. And that's how I got through it. That's how I get through it.
Mhm. I 100% agree with you. That's exactly how I get through it too. If there's ever an emotion that comes up, I sit here and I think, okay, what's happened in my life recently for me to feel this way? When was the last time I felt that way? And I just reflect on the feeling. You got to understand where the feeling's coming from to know where you're being triggered. I don't really like the word triggered, but where you're being triggered at.
That's
And
the word of today.
I know, and I don't know why I don't like it, but I really just don't like that word. But yeah, you definitely need to process your feelings and things that are going on in your life, in your relationships, and if there's a relationship that's making you feel that way, then you need to assess that relationship.
Mhm.
And that's something that I had to really work on because I had people in my life who've been in my life my entire life, and I had to be like, "You know what? This relationship isn't gonna work. I'm really sorry, but we need to go our separate ways." And it
Yeah,
was hard,
absolutely.
but I mean, in the end, it's what I needed.
Right. And you do feel better for choosing yourself because that's
Mhm.
what it is at the end of the day. And especially us women, it's really hard for us to choose
It
ourselves
is.
because we're nurturers, caregivers. So we
Mhm.
always put ourselves on the back burner. And my new thing is I am on the front burner. And I tell people, if you've ever flown, before you take off, they tell you if the oxygen mask comes off, who do you help first? Yourself.
Yep.
Because if you don't help yourself, you can't help anyone else. And so that has just been something I choose to live by at this point. And one can say, "Oh, she's selfish," or you can say whatever you want because that was the other thing. I
Mhm.
didn't want to come off selfish or arrogant or all these things, but yeah, no, that's your perception of me. I know who I am, and these are my boundaries, and this is what I do.
Mhm. Yeah, I could have a whole conversation on that. But yeah, I mean, it's very true. Well, it's been so great having this conversation with you today. Is there anything that you want to talk about yourself, advertise about yourself, or anything?
No, but I mean, you guys can check me out at nikkiallen.com, and my book is there as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
If today's episode spoke to your heart, be sure to follow me and follow Silent No Longer so you never miss a new episode filled with healing and hope. Please share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. You never know the impact it could have. If you're ready to take the next steps in your own healing, you can take my free quiz to see if you may be in a toxic relationship. Schedule a free clarity call with me or read my story in Behind Closed Doors. Thank you for listening to Silent No Longer. Your story isn't over and healing is possible.